Hi everyone, Mr. May here. What I'm going to do right now is go over what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the week. In the first video, I talked about the asynchronous assignment. We're also going to be doing that in class. You missed out today if you were not in class for second and fifth period about what we are learning about and what we want to do. I'm going to start it off with the lesson for this week, and then on the back end of this, I'm going to show you what the expectations are for this project that we're doing. I'm trying to get this out as quickly as possible to you guys so you guys have as much as you guys can get to be successful. So the first thing I want to talk about is some of the achievements of the Egyptian civilization, and make sure you guys understand that, because if you know this, you'll be able to do well on this museum project that you've been assigned. So the first one is the Giza pyramids that were erected near the Nile. We have talked about them the last time we met. They're important because these temples were linkage to the outside, to the afterlife for everyone. Hundreds of thousands of people worked on the great structures for 3 months of each year, and during the Nile's annual flood, when it was impossible to farm the land, and most of the population was unemployed. So when the Nile was flooding, people needed work to do, and what they did is they worked on the pyramids. The pyramids of Giza are considered the seven wonders of the world. We've talked about another one previously with Stonehenge. But remember, the pyramids were a great contribution to our history because we're still learning today how they were built. There's so many theories on what happened with them. And a pyramid is still very popular, still a popular design today. If you search pyramids of the United States, you're going to find quite a few. And there is actually one here located in Tennessee in Memphis. It's actually the old basketball arena that the Memphis Grizzlies played in, and the University of Memphis, University of Memphis, played there as well. And it's actually in a pyramid. Today, it's a Bass Pro Shops megastore, but it is a pyramid, and you can also find a pyramid. And our next topic or major contribution, the Great Sphinx in Las Vegas at the Luxor Hotel. The Great Sphinx of Egypt protects the Egyptian pyramids. It takes on the body of a lion with the face of a human. It's a really cool looking thing. There's plenty of videos out there about it, and it's definitely something that you should look at. And we're going to maybe watch a video in one of the classes this week. So if you really want to see some more about the Great Sphinx, come to class, make sure you know what's going on with it, because I think it's something that a lot of people can look at or would enjoy seeing. The period tombs are placed to the left of the Nile River, right, which is what the Great Sphinx is guarding, okay? It's designed to keep the burials safe from the effects of angry gods and thieving humans. But from what we've learned in history, it may not have done the job as successfully from the human beings. Another major contribution is hieroglyphics. All right, it's the symbols of writing of the Egyptian period, and it's a very interesting aspect to learn about and how the Egyptians expressed themselves. And today we've been able to decipher what each symbol represented today, and it allows us to read the hieroglyphics to get a better understanding of what happened back then and what the stories were. And this is a cartouche, or an oval or oblong enclosing with a group of Egyptian hieroglyphs, and it typically represents the name of and title of a monarch. So just to give you guys an idea, it was a merging of art, culture, and language all on this small token that people could see. Finally, is papyrus. It's a material similar to thick paper that was used in ancient times as a writing surface. It was made from the pith of the papyrus plants, which is basically the inside of the stems. It's very thick, it's very sturdy, and they would write on this with ink. And if you think about it, papyrus is just an early version of paper. So it's a very useful thing that they developed that we still use today. So I'm going to go back and talk about a couple of the major leaders of this time period. First is Queen Hatshepsut. She was the most influential Egyptian queen and known as a great diplomat. And what made her different from other pharaohs is that she didn't really fight in any wars. Like, she was more based on trading instead of fighting, which is a different concept from any period in history, because most great leaders are known for their fighting or the wars they fought in, instead of like leading trade. We got a great video of her that you guys will be able to watch. I'm going to put a link in our Schoology page that tells you a lot more about what she did and how her success was so awesome, really, considering everything that's happened with her. She also built the temple called the Dayr al-Bahri temple. And it's dedicated to Amun-Re and included a series of chapels dedicated to some of the gods, Osiris, Re, Hathor, and Anubis. All right, and these temples are similar to what we might see in the future in another great culture and a great empire, much like the Egyptians. Just an early thinking. Start thinking about what that group might be. It's one that many of us already know. So here's a video about her. I'm gonna put the link in our Schoology page, okay? So that we all can get to that. Ramses the Great is another one of the great pharaohs of the time. And he's interesting. His father became pharaoh when he was 5, and he had an older brother. So he was second in line, and his brother died when he was 14. And now he was going to be next in line. And when he was 25 years old, his father died, and he was crowned pharaoh. He was the third pharaoh of the 19th dynasty. So before him, there were 18 other dynasties. And then Ramses came along, and his family was the 19th dynasty. But he's interesting to know about is because he was a great war fighter. He led military campaigns. By the age of 22, he was leading battles. All right. During his reign as pharaoh, Ramses led the Egyptian army against several enemies, including the Hittites, Syrians, Libyans, and Nubians. He was one of the big ones to expand the Egyptian empire, and it secured its borders against attackers. So don't forget, in Egypt, the soldiers had a very high place in their world. That soldiers were very important to the Egyptian leaders and to the Egyptian people. Finally is King Tut. He's very important because he was the most preserved mummy we ever found. His pyramid and his everything involved with them was the most preserved ever found. And you can see here the detail in his tomb, his sarcophagus. Here's him as the mummy. The mummy of him. He's just, the preservation has been so great. He ruled Egypt as pharaoh for 10 years until his death at age 19. So he's very young. Maybe only 9 to 7 years older than what you guys are. He was barely known to the modern world until 1922. And he found the pharaoh's tomb at that time. And it was sealed for 3,200 years. There was many artifacts and treasures, and it revealed a lot about the royal life in ancient Egypt, and it really made him one of the most famous pharaohs of all time, even though he had a very short reign. But because he's been the one that we've most been able to study, he's become a very famous individual for everybody to understand. I'm going to link this video as well about King Tut, so we can watch that and get a little more about him. That'll be in our Schoology page as well. Finally, I want to talk briefly about cultural diffusion. of ancient Egypt with Nubia and what happened there. Nubia is home to some of Africa's earliest kingdoms. It's known for its gold. It also was like a gate through which luxury products like incense, ivory, and ebony traveled from there into sub-Saharan Africa to Egypt and the Mediterranean. It's very important in Egypt because it was a source of gold. If we've looked at some of the Egyptian pharaohs, they are embossed in gold. And because of this, and we're going to learn very much about this, it's a whole lot easier just to take things from people than to kind of trade. So Egypt decided that, you know what, we want to control the trade. We want to make the money. So they fought Nubia many times. And when they took control, they started taxing Nubia. This led to many conflicts throughout time. And it's important to know that, in history, trade is very important, and controlling the routes of trade are important as well. Later on in history, you're going to learn about something called the Silk Road, and this is a very early beginning of it. But we all know that gold is one of the most precious metals, and that people still today look for gold, and that's something that we got to know about. But part of it is that Egypt's culture will be expanded into Nubia, and part of Nubian culture, and mainly the supplies that are available, will spread into Egypt, and this is called cultural diffusion. Eventually, you have cultures like today in the U.S., where stuff that was from a different part of the world becomes a part of another group, and it kind of like merges together. So Mr. May's favorite example is tacos. Tacos came from parts of Central America and Mexico and other parts like that down in the Hispanic community, and slowly has spread into our country, where tacos are a part of the American tradition. Another one is pizza and spaghetti. That's all part of like cultural diffusion, where we take parts of something that belonged to one group and it's now part of another one, and they merge together to make a new culture in a way. Cultural diffusion is awesome. I like thinking food's like one of the best things that's diffused. So that's everything we're going to learn about for the next couple days. I'm going to post another video in a second, giving you more details on what you need to know to be successful on the project. I have some examples that I want to show you. So look for that video in a few minutes, okay?